Welcome to the first ever development log for Glenwich. So if you don't know what Glenwich is, it's an idle multiplayer RPG inspired by games like RuneScape, Tribal Wars, even though that probably makes no sense to hear, and Adventure Quest, or like kind of Arctics games, if you're familiar with those. Um, I'd say probably mostly RuneScape and just kind of maybe text RPGs or like simple RPGs. Um, and yeah, I guess why I'm making this is I don't know. I'm a software engineer by profession, and so it's kind of fun to build things in your spare time. This is something that I've always kind of wanted to do, probably what got me into programming in the first place. Like, kind of, mm, maybe not game development I don't think the last thing I'd want to be for money is a game developer, but the the idea of making like a thing, a little world, and a system is pretty cool. Um, I think this game is multiplayer, so that's always been something I've found pretty interesting too. And I used to make lots of kind of maybe overly ambitious games, and this is also maybe one of them. But something I like about PBBG space is that, um, yeah, now I've been a software engineer for a while and I've worked on kind of web stuff. It's nice to know that I can kind of hack together something that looks vaguely like a game, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing this. I think I've probably spent a very long amount of time on this so far. So we've been in development since February this year. So that's, I think, 6 months, give or take, maybe a little bit more now. And yeah, it's been through a lot of iterations. And actually, I could probably pull up the blog and oh, I've found my own blog. No, I haven't. I think it was on Hackanese or something. And I can show you the first post with a graphic of what it looked like. So it looked like this, and now it looks like this, which I think is pretty nuts. Maybe can show you some other elements to just drive it home, maybe how crazy that is. Yeah, it's pretty different. And I can even show you another blog post, which I think has subsequent screenshots. In a way, I kind of love this design. I think people um, weren't too keen. Said it looked a bit too muddy, perhaps. But yeah, I think it's got a charm to it, but also it looks very dated. So I like this one a lot too. And yeah, I guess the idea of the game is, like, well, the hope is you could play it any way you wanted to. If you want to just like fish max level and hoard all the fish and own the fish markets, you could do that. Or if you want to just do combat and fight stuff and kind of max your combat character, you can do that too. Um, and I think I'd really want to eventually make it possible to really kind of customize your characters as well. And at the moment, you can have up to six. So I've got, if I go to character selection, um, I've got a couple characters already. Um, let's open up this one, which I don't think is doing anything. It's slow to load as well. Um, but yeah, you can make many characters and kind of travel around, do stuff. And we have a Discord as well, which you can join. And there used to be a chat functionality. I've actually turned this off for the time being, just because I want to try and reduce the amount of complexity on the screen. And that kind of brings me to, oh no, I just realized I've lost my notes. That brings me to, I guess, the point of the video. So as a devlog, I'm hoping that maybe once a month or every 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I can do a kind of video going over like what's been done, what's new, what's next, and maybe answer or talk about any kind of things that people want me to talk about. So if there's anything that you want to see in a video, let me know and I can try and make it happen. So this is my notes. This is actually a widget in game, which I thought was kind of fun. So you can make notes and they're synchronized across your devices as well. And I'm using this to talk about. have talking points for this log. So the these are the kind of things I've been working on as of recently. This is kind of a side note, I suppose, of something to talk about, and then we're just going to go over maybe future points, or like what the state of play is. So yeah, the kind of main things I've been working on, and I say that I've been a bit inactive recently, to be honest, with life stuff. So I've recently moved. I've been building lots of furniture and painting walls and stuff, and just working. And I don't know, it's the summer, so seeing people, um, and yeah, it's been reasonably busy. So I've not really been able to put as much time into the game as maybe I otherwise would. But yeah, the main kind of things that are new is yes, we have a game guide now, which you can see here. I guess the idea is that a lot of people join the game and they're like, what do I do? What's going on? They ask a lot of questions, for kind of things that hopefully I'd want to be just available as information in the game. And a lot of the time, it's either someone answers the question for you, or you check out the wiki, which is linked here. While the wiki is great, it's kind of a community effort. And I guess in the long run, it should hopefully be an exhaustive list of maybe everything in the game there is. The game guide itself is a kind of smaller wiki which aims to show you like kind of useful information to get you started. So, how does it work? What do you do first? What are the things, the constructs in the game? And then a breakdown into different mechanics. So these are, in my opinion, this is my first draft of kind of things that matter the most in the game. So you've got travel, gathering, crafting, combat, quests, guilds, and the exchange. Every single tab on this page is pretty light at the moment. And a lot of this is subject to change, especially with player feedback, which is the most important part. So if there's anything you don't understand, or think needs refining, please do give me a shout in the Discord and I can try and fix it. So that's pretty much it. It's not really the most exciting feature. It's still pretty light. Maybe needs a couple more images and like links and stuff. But hopefully it's enough to illustrate like the fundamentals when you join. Um, and yeah, I guess I'll talk about the next thing. But yeah, you can find it here. That's the game guide. You can find it here as well. Should be responsive. I think that might be a bug actually. Let's check. Oh yeah, that's kind of responsive. Cool. So let's just put this back to where we were. So yeah, that's the main kind of small feature I've been doing. Another one is I think this is in another patch note, but this is the game, uh, the character page. And the idea here is that you used to log in and you'd see your map as the first kind of thing. And I think if you join, it's kind of boring. So the map is pretty basic. It used to be a little bit more interesting, but a lot of people find the map quite overwhelming, I suppose. And even now, it's even simpler. So you just see some points of interest, this little thing to let you explore further afield, and then that's kind of it. And there's also this list option, which is like more to keep the kind of the typical route you take a little bit more, make it more painless, I suppose, because at the moment we're in the middle of kind of revamping the map and how it works. And I think while in the future, this will hopefully be a really nice, visually appealing thing to look at and maybe have a lot more going on. But hopefully to the point where it doesn't overwhelm people that just join. I think the character page is a bit more kind of forgiving to look at. And arguably there is more information. I think it's kind of more interesting and useful to know. So you can see what you've got equipped. You can see your inventory, your skills, even though it's twice, which is kind of bothers me a little bit. And you can see your status and your other characters, and kind of maybe a couple of these things might nudge you towards certain things as well. Like you can say, oh, I can join a guild, or I can, equip a thing, or whatever. And I'm hoping to add maybe more social features as well. So like maybe you could comment on a page or become a friend with someone or whatever, which I think would be pretty nice. And then the other part is like I want to make this more kind of personalizable. So the banners will change. This gold border is if you're like a Patreon supporter, for instance, and then you can see your badges, and your character as well, which will hopefully be adjustable in the future too. So that's the character page, and then as a side note, we have this little search bar as well, so you can look up, say, another player. Like you can look up Hades, who works on this game with me, and you can see they've got. They probably won't like that. I can see their inventory now, but it's fine. And you can see their page, their level, total level, their how old they are in the game, their other players, and yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Let's go to back to my player. So yeah, that's these are the two kind of things I've been pretty happy with. Maybe another call out as well as the interface has changed. You can see we've got this cool kind of dotted background and a kind of single column layout, which looks a little bit awkward when you expand this sidebar. I just realized this is off screen. Um, with the centering, this will hopefully be refined in the future. But yeah, there's been a couple changes here, and a lot of the focus is just make it simpler for people because I think it can be quite overwhelming when you join. So I want to try and ease people into it rather than through everything. And I think maybe it's more evident on some of the old blog posts. You can see we've gone through a lot of revisions where, whoops, um, I swear there was one post, maybe it was this one. Yeah, you can see we've had all sorts of information overloads. Like, imagine loading up the game and you see this. And while I think it looks great, um, just because it's like lots going on, there is a lot going on. So if you join, it's very, very overwhelming. Um, and that's kind of the reason why this exists as well, so you can hide this. Like you don't really need to see it. And then in the future, it'd be nice to be like, maybe you could drag out a component, like say the equipment tab. You can move it around, which I think is pretty cool. But it'd be nice if you could like, chuck it in here and hide it away, or you could pull it out and have it as a always on your display thing, if that's your cup of tea. So there's been a lot of work to make that feasible as a starting point. And then also it's really tricky because if you want this to work on a phone, um, you've got to find a way to make this all kind of stack in a useful way, which is pretty challenging to be honest. And there's still a couple of visual bugs here you can see. But there you go. Anyway, so that's the main points on the game guide, the character pages, and then maybe more of a technical section. So skip it if it's not of interest. Um, but the uh, item refactors and the database for storing items has been pretty much completely revamped. And this is a pretty big one for kind of velocity in moving quickly when building the game mechanics out. Maybe not the hugest one, there's a lot of hurdles at the moment. But just to kind of show you what I mean. So before the items were stored in a single file that was loaded, and looking up information arbitrarily was quite tedious. So I can show you what I mean by that. So it used to be in this YAML file, and you see all of these items, um, the sprite mappings for like the images, the stats, and it's just pretty crazy to work on because it's just append only, and you add stuff, and it gets a bit out of hand. Um, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. I think it's still kind of nice. And I think I was hoping that there's tools that make it easier to edit these files as you go. But there isn't really one that fits my workflow too well, to be honest. And I've now switched to a database, which would probably be most people's first port of order if they make a similar system as you chuck it in a database. But I didn't want to put it in the games database, which has all the player information. I've put it in a kind of small SQLite database, if you're familiar with that. And this basically lets you query items um, pretty easily. So you can see the first 10 items. You can look for, um, I don't know, items where they have maybe a particular stat that's a certain level or maybe a missing bit of information. And the thing that's really nice about this is I can load it into a database and I can do like bulk edits as well. So I can change all the tiles at once, which is pretty nice. If I just resize this to fit the screen. So this is really cool. This tool looks really old now, but it's pretty good. It's like a database SQLite user interface. And the reason why this works so well is there's not many items in the game, to be honest. There's about 800 or so. And um, with the rate of like how much things change, it got quite difficult where uh, aides would be doing the new sprites, for instance, and I'd have like 20 new items to map, and it just took forever to find them in the YAML file and edit it, and so on and so forth. Something that screamed the need for being automated. And in this case, we're not automated just yet, but we're a step closer in that now I can adjust all of these in one go, which is pretty amazing. So I've been able to tear through a lot of the backlog in a much quicker time than before. So that's kind of the new items database. And then what I've also done is I've moved this out into a separate kind of service, if you will, if you're familiar with kind of technical terms like services. So this is now completely separate from the game. And why this is nice is because if I'm developing locally, I can point the local kind of test server that I run on my computer to the item service itself. And what that means is it's just a single source of truth. So if I make a new item, it changes everywhere, and then I can use it from a local device, local kind of environment, which is pretty good because before there was this kind of thing where I'm trying to make it so that you can maybe edit items from this admin panel. So I can look up like, I don't know, lobster and say, let's update the item or something. Oh shit, I hope I haven't broken anything. This doesn't really work very well at all. Um, and yeah, like make it so that you can adjust the image or whatever, but it doesn't really work in the prior format. But now it's a bit more feasible, which is nice. Yeah, that's just kind of a brief talk about the item refactors, which has taken quite a lot of time, not necessarily because it's difficult, but more just finding the time around life to do it. But now it's done, we can hopefully iterate much faster on adding new items. And the next thing I want to do is move recipes into the mix as well. So these can change because these are currently specified as a file as well, which is fun. Um, yeah. So it gets a bit intense, but I'm hoping this is something I can automate a lot more easily. Cool. So those are what I've been doing. And just to talk about travel, so this is probably the next thing I want to do is this travel system is halfway between moving towards having cost associated with it. So before you used to have to, or you used to be able to just travel immediately to the next zone. There was like an arrow here, you click it and you're there. And you can still do that in a way. You can go all the way to like, I don't know, Stonecross Exchange from that little button. This is kind of broken. Um, and now it's driven by this, which I think is simpler. So this comes from simplifying the map for new players. So you load it, you go, okay, what are these? Okay, you see what's going on there. But then also you can travel with this kind of bigger zone map here, and this has scope for in the future being like a lot more prettier, basically. But for now, it's just a grid of squares because that's how things go. And the idea is you just go to like an area, and then the idea is you travel, and it takes time. So, I don't know how to compute time for this just yet, but it could in theory take hours. And then the idea is that you can teleport there at a cost of in-game gold, so just gold coins. And it'd be probably something that scales maybe with your with something, I don't know, maybe your inventory weight potentially, or your health could be interesting. Um, and obviously that's kind of annoying, but this kind of reduces the amount of things that you have available to you immediately and makes you have to think about what you're doing and where you're going and if it's worth traveling to. And then obviously once you accrue like the financial means to travel instantly with teleportation, you can go wherever you want more easily. And then there's also this skill that was added called Endeavor, which has no guide in it at the moment, but basically that's the assignments. So the amount of assignments you do means that you get a higher level of endeavor. This is probably needs better scaling with the experience rates because it's 1 XP per task, which is pretty brutal. But the idea is the kind of once you get to maybe max level endeavor, you could travel instantly wherever you want, for instance, would be a pretty nice kind of late game thing to do. And then also maybe magic as well could tie into teleports as another option. So you could either pay a fee or you could teleport through maybe being a high level of magic. But then also your endeavor gets you like the ability to travel wherever. Like there's so many things you can do with this, which is quite fun. And I think I want to do all of them as options potentially. We'll see. But that's travel, and hopefully now I've done the items work. This can be a thing where I'll be able to focus on this as probably I'm hoping I can do this next basically. So a couple of people have said like if you go somewhere and you teleport to this place and you do a thing and then you leave, you end up back in this zone up here, so the top left, and I was just in, Dunwick or whatever. Um, and yeah, so this isn't actually stored anywhere. It's all client side. And the goal is to actually make this a thing so that when you travel somewhere, you actually travel. So at the moment, this is all just kind of a facade over the idea of what is to come. And initially, a lot of that is to see, like, the reaction of the existing player base and see, like, okay, would this be something that people want to see? And I think for the most part, people were pretty keen to do it. I'm pretty keen to do it. So hopefully, this is a way we can test the waters and see if it makes sense as a nice mechanic in the game. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of what I've been doing, what's coming, and then just briefly I'll talk about what's next. I mean, I just talked about travel, but yeah, we're gonna walk the Trello. So I've got a couple of boards. I've also got a Jira board full of all of the tickets in game, which I won't show you because there's lots of juicy things in there to keep secret. Um, but in theory, the roadmap is kind of well defined, I think, for the next year, to be honest, if not longer. There's a lot of work to do and not enough time, unfortunately. But this is the public roadmap. So if you've not seen this, I think it's linked hopefully somewhere in Discord, and I should probably put it in game. I need a place to just dump the links in the game, to be honest. At the moment, this is the dumping ground. Um, but yeah, and this is kind of this is not exhaustive by any means. I updated it today, and it's kind of I don't know. It's very vague too. So the guild system is still a work in progress, I would argue. But you can make a guild, you can join a guild, and you can gain XP as a guild collectively on a leaderboard. And so I feel like it's kind of the basics is there, and there's a ton of bugs and features to iterate with guilds. So it's still kind of in progress, but I'll probably cut specific tickets on this board with guild features I'm working on when I get to them. But as far as I'm concerned, you can kind of do most guild stuff, except for guild quests are going to be a thing. And then the guild banks need permissions because at the moment it's a bit of a kind of yeah, it's the Wild West for storing items at the moment. So this is what's done. So multi-combat mechanics. I mean, I can show you. Actually, I won't show you, but you can fight monsters in multiples. Before it was 1v1, now it's 1vn, where it's like up to five or something, um, which was a pretty drastic change to make in the kind of engine for the game, if you will. And that's done. And what's in progress now is pretty much just nailing the basics. Which is a very fun, sounds very corporate, but basically the idea is like we have an MVP and we just want to refine it into a bunch of systems that make sense. And so the idea here is to basically spend maybe the next couple of months just squashing bugs, quality of life improvements, but then also things like let's make travel work, let's map all the items, let's make the items have like sensible stats, all of this kind of thing. And so it's a very massive ticket of stuff, and that's what I'm doing now. In refinement, so these are things in refinement means, I'm refining the idea or it's kind of being scoped out for how feasible it is. And so magic is a big one. Not a lot of people like it, understandably. It's requires a lot of capital to perform magic in combat, and there's not a lot of reward. Likewise for ranged as well. And there's also no kind of idea of kiting where you can have a distance and reduce damage from enemies, which I think would be a nice kind of thing to do um, for range and magic. And these are things that are in progress, but this is the focus for now. Maybe I'll put my name on it as well, so it's there. and then party combat as well. So I want to be able to have, you know, one to maybe three or four people join up in a kind of fight against a particular combat area. And at the moment in the game, you have areas you can go and fight in, I think. And they're marked with these red things, and you can see what you face against. And the idea is you'd be able to join a party with like friends or a guild. At the moment, small groups, and you can see like what you can fight as a group of players, which I think is pretty fun. And this is a pretty massive feature, to be honest. I might have to rewrite significant portions of the engine to make it work, which is fun. So that's kind of everything's leading up towards to that. So, for example, the items rewrite has been partly a blocker for this, for instance. And then we have the backlog. So this is the stuff that I want to do that I haven't really refined. Um, um, there's a blurred line here that maybe doesn't make sense in that I'm not really working on this. It should be in the backlog, but it's kind of, it's, I guess this is not really happening at the moment. This is like nearly happening. But in the backlog we have farming, and this one is a lot of people ask for this, and I'll get around to it. I think it'd be really fun to do, and actually it's probably easier than the party combat, so maybe I'll make it happen sooner rather than later. Um, but the idea is that in the game we mostly have fish and meat, and you should probably have a vegetarian option. So being able to grow plants and vegetables and fruits and stuff like that would be pretty nice. Um, Alchemy in general is also very lackluster. So potion kind of making potions and stuff for combat is something that needs to be done. We've got range combat mechanics. I mean, this is perpetually in refinement alongside Magic, to be honest. And then player duels, so like a PvP functionality, I think would be pretty cool. When I think of this, I think of Castle Wars in RuneScape. Not like Wilderness, perhaps, but it'd be cool to add some stakes to it as well, that you could put up collateral for, who wins what. I think it would be pretty good. And then an Iron Man mode. This is pretty easy to do, to be honest, but this is more a timing thing. So I don't want to release this until we're at like version 1.0, to be honest. So this is kind of forever in the backlog. And then if there's any like notable bugs, I'll put them in this column here. Um, and at the moment, I don't think there's anything of note. Everything's kind of in the Discord. So we'll see. And then this is just an intro column for like how to read this Trello. So if you want to keep up to date, I'll try and go over this every time we do a devlog and maybe refine some stuff beforehand so that there's kind of a reasonably good picture of what's going on in this Trello. And I won't go over these to be honest because they're just noise. But there's a ton of boards and Juras and all sorts of stuff where I have many different um, tickets and whatnot, and ideas and feature requests and quality of life improvements. Um, yeah, so that's the Trello. As for what's next, I mean, yeah, so nail the basics, make the travel system work, and then some things with guilds will be coming. Then also items. Um, lots of things to do. And then in terms of just general admin, yeah, I want to do more of these development logs. Hopefully, find a better format that people will find interesting. I feel like this has probably been going on for half an hour, so apologies. Um, in I probably won't edit it either because I don't know. A lot of the point of this game is I want to build something where it's fairly. I can focus my efforts on areas I think which need it, and that's mostly game mechanics rather than like editing videos, I guess. There was something else I wanted to mention. I forgot what it was. So maybe it doesn't matter. But yeah, so the idea is, hopefully a more refined roadmap will be coming just as part of these videos. If you have any questions or something you want me to talk about in a future tab log, let me know. Um, and I think a lot of it's a learning curve as well. So like trying to find a good way to work on this going forwards, where I can is a big part of the battle. So for instance, bugs are in Discord, and personally I find it very hard to keep up with. So I'm probably going to move those to maybe Trello or GitHub or something. Um, or maybe some other kind of SaaS product. And hopefully you'll be able to have more visibility as a kind of player base as to what the bugs are or what's being worked on, or what's broken. Um, and I think generally a lot of the things I want to do is I want to shift a lot of things in game. So like it'd be nice if you could vote for bugs and features in the game itself. Um, and even things like community features, I've removed the chat. I think I want maybe more like a notice board or a forum in the game as opposed to like live chat. Um, I think live chat might make a comeback at some point or another because I think it's quite useful. But I feel like Discord um, solves that problem quite well for now. So I've disabled it as an experiment to try and drive more players towards talking on Discord instead. And then ideally in the future, I think it'd be nice to have like a kind of a news board and like a forum in the game, and like maybe pay with in-game currency, i.e. gold, to chat. Um, and yeah, I think that'd be good. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Yeah, Glenwich, give it a go. Make sure you check it out. Subscribe. I think this will go on YouTube for any updates. I'll post this on Discord. And also, if you want to support server costs, um, please our Patreon. That would be great. Makes a dent in the server bills, which is always nice. And then also the admin too. So, for instance, like I don't know, paying an accountant to do accounting stuff, because apparently that's a problem that I have to worry about now. And yeah, cool. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.